Hi, I'm Debbie from Property Apprentice, and today's podcast is called Warning for If You've Bought Off the Plans. Why? Because we're hearing from a lot of people who've bought a property off the plans, and now that settlement date is approaching, they're struggling to get lending, or they need a bigger deposit than expected, or they're really worried that they're not going to be able to afford to pay the mortgage. The reasons for this is as follows, and we've been warning about this for a couple of years now. First of all, you might need to get a new registered valuation to meet finance conditions for settlement of a new build. If you bought a property off the plans at the peak of the market, there's a pretty good chance it's not going to be worth the same amount as it was then. So if you were planning on getting 80% lending, you might need to have a larger deposit or get a larger amount of lending. You might not qualify for the same amount of lending now as you did when you first entered into that contract. So things like the triple CFA changes, and that's had an impact on bank lending rules. So lending rules really tightened up significantly, and with increasing interest rates as well, banks have also had to increase their test rates that they check your affordability at. So at the moment, lenders are testing your affordability at up to 9% interest rates now. And so you might not be able to get the same amount of lending that you could previously get. This means that in order to be able to settle, you might need to put in a bigger cash deposit, as I mentioned earlier. And you might not have that, right? So there's some risks involved. With interest rates increasing significantly since mid 2021, it might also cost you a lot more than you were expecting to pay for the mortgage. So, if you originally signed into that contract when interest rates were around 2.5%, now you're looking at settling when interest rates are around 6.5%. So that means that your mortgage could cost you about twice as much as what you were previously budgeting for. Now, we're speaking to a lot of people who bought new builds as an investment property, and they were told it's only going to cost you $20 a week to top this up. When in reality, they're now looking at topping up by about $500 a week after rent. So obviously, that $20 a week to top this up wasn't completely truthful either. Now, what can you do about it? First of all, I'd recommend that you talk to your bank or preferably talk to a mortgage advisor as soon as possible to confirm your ability to get lending to settle the purchase. Not all lenders require a registered valuation. So if you've already got a registered valuation and it's fallen short and you're coming close to settlement, then get in touch with a mortgage advisor to see what your options are. We recommend the team at MITeam, that's MITeam.co.nz. They get in touch with office at MITeam and be able to see what they can do to help. See if there's any way, if you've purchased it as an investment property, see if there's any way that you can make other mortgages more affordable. And this is again where a mortgage advisor can help you. So, you might be able to tighten your belt a little bit further, although that's getting hard with the inflation, the rate it is, especially with groceries. You might be able to extend any other mortgages. You might be able to extend the loan terms or put some of them onto interest only periods, for example, just to help with the cash flow to get you over this hump. If you don't think that you're going to be able to settle the purchase, then I recommend that you talk to your lawyer as soon as possible to consider your options. You might be able to cancel the contract or you might be able to try and on-sell it. The developer might agree to on-sell it on your behalf or take it back off you and on-sell it. But, you'll need to talk to your lawyer about that. Lastly, if you were sold the property by a financial advice provider, you may have grounds for a complaint. So we're talking to a lot of people who thought that they were getting financial advice because some financial advice providers do sell property. And so they assumed that they were getting financial advice, whereas, they literally were just sold a property. So, if you do think that you had financial advice about that particular purchase, and now you're looking like you're not going to be able to afford it, you might have grounds for a complaint. So get in touch with that financial advice provider, ask them what their complaints process is, because it's a legal requirement that they'll have one, and check out the FMA website for more information as well. Okay, so there's another issue that we might start seeing more of as well, and that's some developers or builders going into liquidation before the build is completed. If you're worried about that, I recommend that you speak to your lawyer as soon as possible. And if you're looking at entering into a new build contract at this point in time, make sure you do your homework on the developer. Make sure you get your solicitor to check the contract before you sign it. and talk to your mortgage advisor just to see how much flexibility you've got there if values continue to drop over the next little while before that property comes up due for settlement. Okay, I've done podcasts in the past about the pros and cons of buying new builds as well, so you might want to check those out in our previous podcast as well. Thanks for listening.